you. I don't usually chime in on political stuff, but something kind of, hit home. Now, first of all, I believe in the inherent dignity of every human being. Who people love, and, well, of course, as long as it's legal and within, reason, I have no problem with that. I believe that, of course, certain things are wrong, yet, I can't force my opinion, or neither should, my religion force their opinion on others. And again, everybody has inherent dignity. That being said, I've had a lot of daycare issues the past 8 years, That's why my youngest daughter is with me most of the time. Out of 5 daycares, we have had 3 that I saw very concerning people there. I saw very concerning behavior. I saw boundaries being crossed, and as soon as I could, I pulled my daughter out of those places. I've had 2 that were pretty good, but for one reason or another, she couldn't go there anymore. Maybe my job, I was fired or something. I've only been fired, 3 times in my whole life? My whole life, 3 times. And the past 8 years, twice. Once is daycare. We didn't have a daycare program. They kept talking about it. Some of us had limited daycare. When you're rural in Michigan, you don't have many daycare options. And even when you're in the city, there's less than 100 24-hour daycares in the state, and there's even fewer that are 7 days a week. So, that being said, and then one of them became a school. So, it's kind of, we could try to go to the school, an after-school program, but we just haven't gotten around to it. Too many other things going on, and the need for daycares, is only minimal, and we'll probably have to find something through CFS or something like that, because my family and I, our gaps are significant now. And anyway, this video's not about that. But so we've done a lot with daycare, a lot of very concerning behavior. Predators at daycare I've seen. Generally teenage boys. And at one daycare, I saw teenage boys walking around mixing with the children without shirts, and it was okay. It wasn't okay for me. I don't even go around my house with a shirt. Very rarely. Even when I'm in the Middle East or Southeast Asia, very rarely. Modesty is a very good character trait. But and then children, just because they're children, it's okay for everybody to go to the bathroom together. Wrong answer. That. But anyway, so I've seen a lot of daycare stuff. I believe in everybody's inherent dignity. People, who they love, that's their business. Like I always tell my daughter, sometimes things get lost in the translation. That is DNA. When it gets translated from God's awesome mind and through his, speaking of the word of our birth, sometimes things get lost in translation. Doesn't mean anybody's inherently flawed or evil, only acts are. And, that being said, when I see a daycare such as in Colorado, and this hits home, with daycare issues, we dealt with a lot of them. And sometimes the state ignored us because people had friends who were social workers or CPS workers. Yeah, one daycare, actually, a retired higher up supervisor of CPS from the state of Michigan runs the daycare. And I saw all kinds of concerning behavior, and some of her employees were lying. And other parents, made Google reviews about this particular daycare, and she retaliated against them, defaming them in the review. That kind of arrogance should be prosecuted or should be litigated. That kind of public arrogance and, victim shaming, no. It shouldn't be acceptable in this country. But apparently sometimes it is. Especially my experience of Saginaw County. A lot of victim shaming, or people trying to say, oh, you're not a victim here. Don't try to say you're a victim. Trying to just somehow, destabilize your personal narrative because they heard this, or because they think this about you, or because they read this, Just ignorance. Fake news, to coin a term from somebody else. But anyway, and so people, they take away your narrative that they victimized you, and they try to steal it and say, oh, you're not a victim. Well, I mean, most sane-minded people don't want to be victims. So when they speak up, hey, this is going to stop, and somebody shames them, therein we have a problem. That's a sign of a predator. Predators always do that. Always. But so what's happening in Colorado, where those, the daycares, the preschools that applied for public funding, it's kind of like a Head Start kind of thing, and it's unclear whether it was LGBTQ plus children, which is very concerning. Again, I wouldn't involve myself in another person's bedroom, or in their exam room, or in their OR room. It's not my business. But when somebody brings a 4-year-old in and says, oh, yeah, my son's gay, he's 4 years old. Or when somebody brings in their daughter and, yeah, well, it says here the birth certificate says John. No, she's called Jane now. Therein we have a problem. And some people may not like me for saying this, but come on, these are children. How can you say to a 5-year-old child, unless there's a biological, I hate to use this word, but abnormality, these are not transgender children. They're kids. Oh, yes, we call him Jane because he's transgender. Oh, was he on hormone therapy or anything? Oh, we're looking for a doctor. Yeah, because no doctor will do that to a child, especially pre-puberty. So that being said, when the government of Colorado and the courts went against the church, a couple of parishes that were running daycares and getting federal funding, saying they must admit LGBTQ plus children, or they must admit children of LGBTQ plus parents. Now I wouldn't see how LGBTQ plus, parents would be a problem. And the church could be very clear, this is a Catholic daycare. So, some things you're going to like that we're going to say, other things you're not. But, and there's millions of LGBTQ plus Catholics out there, millions. So, I don't really see a problem with that. I think the problem is complaints from politicians, that want to look like they're the most left-leaning, most progressive, leave those kids alone type people. Hey, that little girl says she's a lesbian, or oh, that little boy says he's transgender. I'm sorry. This is absolutely ridiculous. These are kids. I'm sorry. Some people will find me insensitive. I'm sorry. I believe in the inherent dignity of everybody, but oh my gosh. And so they're trying to force these parish preschools. Again, I don't see a problem with LGBTQ plus parents. I think that the both the state and the news reporter are absolutely arrogant to think that they know what they think they know about Catholic doctrine. We have no problem with that. The problem is intrinsically disordered acts, which comes right from the Catechism. And, there's millions of LGBTQ plus Catholics that are celibate. What's wrong with a little bit of celibacy, even in a heterosexual relationship, to test or to, hey, let's try to get back to the point where we were just dating. Let's, bring spark back. What's wrong with that? Or what about a relationship that's not fully consummated legally, religiously, but it is personally? Let's step back a little bit. Let's test things out. Let's live as friends. What's wrong with that? Nothing. So, but that's another issue. But I highly doubt that the problem is with the parents. It's probably people that want to bring in kids, and they want Johnny to walk around with a dress and pigtails. I'm sorry. It's just, I don't know, absolutely mind-boggling. It really is. Absolutely mind-boggling. And I don't want to appear insensitive, but it's just, I'm sorry. I don't know if I could finish this video. Oh. These are kids, people. Children. Just let them go play on the freaking playground. These are kids that are not even, they haven't even had First Communion yet, if they're Catholic or Orthodox. Well, of course, Orthodox things are kind of different, but, it's not unusual for an Orthodox elementary school kid who already, if they're advanced in understanding and their parents taught them, you'll see an elementary school kid receive. But these are children. And, for them to go after the Catholic Church once again, it seems like since my life, since the 80s, people have went after the Catholic Church and Orthodoxy, but especially Catholicism, more and more and more. It's always been kind of a feeling like Catholics and Jews are not welcome in this country. It comes up again and again and again. And, and then people will make derogatory comments about Eastern Orthodox. Oh, yeah, they're the Orthodox. They're all ethnic. It seems that, but especially Catholics and Jewish families. The Orthodox, generally people don't know you're Orthodox unless they see the Kumbaskini or the Chotki hanging from a mirror, or, generally a guy having it around his wrist or carries it. But then people don't realize that, many Eastern Catholics do that as well. I'm one of the few Eastern Catholics. I have a Chotki as well as a rosary. But, these are just little kids. Why don't we just let kids be kids? And, parents, they should have the utmost concern for their child in mind, safety, peace, calmness, a supportive, peaceful atmosphere to really, skyrocket their development in things like politics, sexuality of children, and, identity of children. Does it really matter? Aren't they there to, even if they're not Catholic, because they respect Catholic teaching, Catholic education, Catholic community orientation, and Catholic social justice? That's what I thought.